Prowler is a wooden roller coaster from Great Coasters International located at Worlds of Fun in Kansas City, Missouri. This is one of two wooden coasters at the park made by GCI, the other one being Zambezi Zinger, which I didn't get to experience. I'll talk a bit about that one later, but the name Prowler is meant to be a term for an African jungle cat, specifically a black panther darting through the dense tropical forest rather than a reference to the Marvel character as it's located in the Serengeti portion of the park's African themed section. That area in general, including the ride's entry plaza and footprint, provide a distinct feeling of isolation with the ride completely tucked away in the woods, which is quite a contrast compared to the rest of Worlds of Fun's atmosphere. The ride's setting is more reminiscent to some of Kings Island's roller coasters or even the entirety of King's Dominion. In fact, because Prowler is one of the most secluded wooden roller coasters out there, I don't have too much footage of it, so I'll be using my clips of Mystic Timbers to describe the experience since that's the ride most people compare to Prowler. They both have T-shaped out and back style layouts, they're nestled in the woods, they feature approximately 16 airtime moments, and even their train rides are either placed adjacent to and or interact with them. From the mid-90s to the end of the 2000s decade, the former Cedar Fair Entertainment Company saw Worlds of Fun as one of their favorite parks. Sure, Cedar Point at the time was still their flagship park, but they put in major investments every few years or so like Mamba, Patriot, and eventually their second ever wooden roller coaster, Prowler. However, shortly after the acquisition of the Paramount parks, the amount of investment slowed down significantly as the company continued to put their focus on Cedar Point, along with parks like Kings Island or Carowinds. Worlds of Fun wasn't entirely neglected though. They still received some occasional flat rides or park enhancements, but they didn't get a new coaster until 2023 with the reincarnation of Zambezi Zinger, which is essentially a smaller, more family-friendly version of Prowler. Despite having to wait 14 years for the fairly recent installation, Prowler still remains one of the more popular coasters at the park. The ride experience consists of a relatively fast-paced layout featuring rapid-fire transitions and some solid airtime pops, all while staying low to the ground almost the entire ride. The funny thing is, when Mystic Timbers first opened, it was often referred to as the best coaster of its manufacturer or even the best ride at Kings Island. After enthusiasts have ridden other GCIs, including Prowler, they've since called it overrated and started to prefer the latter. Since Mystic Timbers is one of my favorite coasters of all time, I was intrigued to check out a similar but different version of it that was supposedly even better. After getting about 15 rides on Prowler during my visits to Worlds of Fun, do I think it's better than Mystic Timbers? I'd say no, because that ride in my opinion has stronger airtime and laterals, the storyline of it is very well done, albeit a little vague, plus it's quite a bit smoother than Prowler, with it being newer and potentially using a different type of wood. With that being said, I don't think Prowler is a bad ride at all. In fact, I give it a 9 out of 10. However, it took a bit for me to decide whether this was my favorite coaster in the park or Mamba. When I first rode Prowler, I almost thought about giving it an 8 out of 10 because the airtime seemed a bit lacking, plus it ran slow and somewhat fell into that stereotype of wooden coasters being rough. In the end though, Mamba's definitely smoother and has stronger airtime, but Prowler has more variety with its layout, which makes it the superior ride in my opinion. For the 2025 season, the newly merged Six Flags chain installed GCI's Titan track on the airtime hill after the coaster's second drop. That's the same track type used on Zambezi Zinger's lift hill and wraparound section. Even though I found the ride to be a little rough, especially in the section I just mentioned, I personally think they should have gone with wood to retrack Prowler, particularly the kind Mystic Timbers or the newer GCIs and retrackings use, because right now Worlds of Fun technically doesn't have an all-wooden roller coaster available since Timberwolf is closed for the season. Regardless of that, I still recommend you pounce on down to the park and support this black cat while it's 87% wooden before they potentially put more Titan track on it.